Well, to talk more about the big themes at South by Southwest and the world of tech, Katie Roof, senior writer and video host at TechCrunch, joins us live from San Francisco. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Now, it seems you could barely take a step without running into a company with its own virtual reality offering. So was VR the biggest story of the festival?
Yeah, definitely. Even McDonald's had its own virtual reality setup, as you mentioned. But I would say not only virtual reality, but also on demand was a big talk of the festival. All these startups like Postmates and Favor, where you could order things and get things delivered to your room, anything you wanted. I used Favor to order barbecue there, but definitely virtual reality is a key theme as virtual reality becomes more accessible to a lot of consumers in the coming months with the upcoming availability of Oculus and then the recent availability of Samsung. Everyone's thinking about how virtual reality can fit into their business and how they can get in part of this big virtual reality game.
Now, were there any other tech highlights that were really making a buzz this year?
So I think this year it was more about topics like President Obama was there, as you mentioned. People were buzzing about that. He really tried to talk about the balance between privacy and security. It was relevant because of the whole Apple FBI debate that's going on right now. He also talked about using technology to increase voter participation. So people were buzzing about that. People are also talking about how there's supposedly a bubble. A lot of tech stocks have struggled recently, so venture capitalists are being more cautious with their money, but they're all raising funds, so it seems like there's going to be plenty of money to deploy this year. There were a lot of venture capitalist parties. TechCrunch also had a big party there with hundreds of people showing up, but
right.
Samsung had an event where the Strokes were there. Part of South by Southwest is really about the partying and the networking. It seems like that's what most people were doing there.
Now, speaking of that might be quite a contrast when you think of venture capitalists. You have this blend of tech, music, and film bringing out all these talented artists and developers, some of them trying to launch their careers, others hoping to get traction. And then, as you said, you have these venture capitalists. So what's their role at summits like these?
Sure, they were all hosting big parties I went to. Andreessen Horowitz, Bessemer Ventures, General Catalyst. It's really about networking there. They not only want to meet new startups that they could possibly invest in, but reconnect with others in the community, whether it be journalists who may write about their startups or just other existing portfolio companies. It's really about networking.
Now, Katie, speaking of parties, there's usually one to really celebrate Silicon Valley, but a lot of firms, including Yahoo, really didn't throw their big annual events. And some say it's a sign that Silicon Valley is, in fact, cooling off. What's your take on that?
Sure. Well, and Yahoo's Tumblr did have a party, but yeah, I think that some companies and some firms did cancel their parties for this year. Maybe it didn't seem like the right time to be partying when their companies are struggling, so they didn't want to send the wrong message. There definitely is this air of concern in Silicon Valley these days with everyone who saw the tech stocks struggling, and there's been 0 tech IPOs this year, so people are definitely watching the stock market closely and thinking about what it means for the next generations of tech companies.
Now, let's compare some of these big tech events. You have South by Southwest, but how does that stack up against things like the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona and CES in Vegas?
Yeah, I spent a week at CES this year. TechCrunch went all out. I saw that there were really more gadgets on display there. I think CES is really a great place to showcase your new product. And there were a lot of drones, a lot of virtual reality there as well. And there were also a lot of fitness tech startups, like a Fitbit for everything. It was really about gadgets, I would say.
And Katie, I do want to tap on the issue of diversity. A lot of these big tech firms released their diversity workforce statistics, and they weren't good. And so some companies are even trying blind hiring as a way to try and get rid of that bias. How effective do you think that's going to be?
Sure. Well, I think it's a great start. Obviously, diversity is a huge topic in Silicon Valley. Everyone is concerned about the lack of diversity here. It sounds like blind hiring would make it so that you can't see the candidate's name, which sometimes reveals something about their racial identity or at least gender. And so taking that part of the process away and could at least get them in the door. Sure, if they come in for an interview, then you may see who the candidate is and learn a little bit more about them, and unconscious bias may influence that. But at least for that first step, blind hiring or blind resumes sounds like a good idea to me.
All right, perhaps one way to at least get in the door. We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for joining us, Katie Roof of TechCrunch.